Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Today, I'm just on YouTube as I have been put into Facebook quarantine. So, so I would welcome everyone to our session. I will make it a relatively brief session today, perhaps half an hour to 40 minutes with a bit of meditation. And I thought we would do a little check-in where we are um, as we approach the dark nights. And we spoke several months ago that as we approach the dark nights and as we go towards November, December, that we can expect general life that we took for granted to become a little bit more disrupted, noticeably disrupted. Supply, food chain distribution, food supplies, fuel, um, and you begin to recognize that it appears that since last year, remember the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, that the whole agenda has now become extremely visible for the aware observer. And what do I mean by it's visible? Well, consider what's going on. Consider what's going on. Under the guise of health, intervention has been put onto the market and enforced, first incentivized. You can have a donut if you take the poison, if you do this. And then soon after that became, you better do it or you're going to lose your job. You better do it, this is going to happen, or better you do it, this is going to happen. Went to a threat based to the point now. So that's going on. Then food supply is starting to become impacted. We're starting to recognize, and in Britain today we've had rain that was quite substantial. So the weather changes that we anticipated that would be here by winter are starting to emerge, and that too will impact mobility, will impact social interaction, and will impact food supply. So the food chain, the food supply is being squeezed. Supply chains being squeezed. Fuel is starting to be questioned whether you're going to have enough fuel. Fuel companies in Britain are being massacred in their tens and twenties, and I think about 20 of them have gone under over the last couple of weeks, forcing fuel prices to go up, again impacting the population. So the population is being impacted biologically, it's impacted through the constant media in terms of the mental space, it's been impacted now on terms of its food supply, it's impacted now in terms of its warmth, its comfort. And all of these signs, you can look at this quite simply and say, these are signs of an emerging um, pattern of attack when someone is in a war and when someone is engaged in war, nation against nation or community against communities, like this, the recently as my own tradition experienced during the riots in Punjab that started around this time in 1984, or the Rwanda crisis, or what's happening in Yemen with the Tutsis. So you see that the wars have always been um, visible. It's this with that, it's this with that, it's this with that. And in a state of war attack, you need to defeat the enemy with the minimum amount of resource. And if you can impact food supplies, if you can impact temperature to make life uncomfortable, if you can impact health through artificial mechanisms, or just reducing the immunity to such a level, then the population becomes ill, weakened, and it can't stand up. It can't stand up to the aggressor. And for the aware observer, it's now quite visible what is going on. And you can see the damage this is starting to cause on a individual level, on a mental level, on a relationship, social level, and all of this to protect you. This is for your safety. Have a look at what's going on in Australia. Have a look at what's going on around the world, and you will find that what the media and really well filtered information that is appearing does not add up to the sentiment that's being felt out there. And so, this division that we spoke about many, many months ago is starting to take shape and is now upon us. And this division is um, it's a natural, organic default position. It's not like a division. One individual is dividing by the other. It's the organic product of two worldviews emerging. A worldview that is, in many ways, being bought, have bought into the narrative, are living the narrative, are engaged in the narrative, and will do whatever the narrative tells in order to maintain the comfort of a life that was known. On the other side, there is an emergence of another worldview in which individuals are looking at health in a different way. Individuals are, for whatever reason, who have taken a stance and decided not to comply, have been therefore ejected from society, kicked out from being able to attend the restaurants or the nightclubs or the social get together. This exclusion, this group, excluded group, will and is forming its own worldview, and it is using its exclusion and the collective exclusion to create new ways of looking at things, new ways of living a life. And that may be homeschooling, that may be self-sustaining gardening, collective gardening, collectively organizing ways of keeping communities together, keeping communities healthy, fuel supplies. There are many, many different opportunities now that have started to emerge within those who have been excluded and are being excluded from the general narrative, or the a particular narrative. um, However, it is important to realize that irrespective of how this is panning out, it is not something that's going to find a balance just in a day or two or a week or a month, etc. There's a whole process of change that yet has to reach a peak, has to reach a level at which where individuals who are currently in a space of maybe denial, not really want to look there because it's too hard to deal with the consequences of knowing that you may have taken an action, or you may have participated in something that not just jeopardizes your health over a longer term period, but also isn't fulfilled. It doesn't actually take you, it doesn't lead you to the promised land, so to speak. And this betrayal will increase a huge amount of anger, that organic emotional energy that rises when you realize that you've been taken for a ride. And this, for those who have some level of, okay, let's call them paranoid, those who have some level of paranoia are able to put things together in one way. Those who have experienced, and I go back to experienced violence, experienced exclusion, experienced being attacked as a minority, experienced the impact of the racism, colonialism, if you have lived through that, if you had a taste of that, if you have a generation of parents or communities that have gone through that and you have seen what it's done to their lives, how much sacrifice, how much change, try and just get this round your head that, people basically lifted themselves up from one part of the world and came into a new part of the world, can't speak the language, and had to get themselves back on their feet. And to do that, it took a lot of courage and resilience in the face of the hostility that was being propagated. They used to have marches where people used to go not so long ago in this country, find people who were not white and beat them up. It was a Friday at my school, I'm told. So if you've experienced any of that, you can see what's happening and you can see it. And you're here saying, I think need to have a look at this, decide for yourself, but certainly be open to what's going on. Now, this entire process, um, if you were to kind of summarize it, it's effectively a top down approach. It's a top down approach where the top decides what you need to think, how you need to think, how you need to live your life, and then push it down upon you. And if you don't do it, they give you punishments until you do it, right? So it's a top-down, homogeneous kind of space, which is totally alien to organic, heterogeneous human individuality. But anyway, that's the space. And in order to get that to work, everyone needs to be fed the same information and everyone needs to believe the same information. Everyone needs to be fed the same information. Everyone needs to believe the same information. And as soon as you believe that information, you've bought into that particular narrative. That's it. You bought into it. And now that narrative determines your reaction in where. So the thing is to believe. Okay. Now, through meditation, one thing we begin to learn quite quickly is that we can separate our awareness, can become aware of the thoughts. And this awareness, this level of disassociation, this level of disengagement allows us to then discern our thoughts in a way that makes sense and resonates with our internal space, tells us if it's the truth or not, if it feels right or not. So this hive mentality, this propaganda-based mentality is based on information. It's based on changing the worldview. It's based on making you think in a particular way, and you can't challenge anything other than that. So we can't challenge and speak about the side effects as a result of the juice, the poison. We can't speak about that. We can't speak about certain issues because the moment you open your mouth, the response that has been cultivated in social kind of norms around you is such that it prevents you for this freedom of thought, freedom of speech. So you can see how this worldview is being cultivated. You can see it's the same that was used in any of the oppressing religions that we've seen, whether it was the Crusades, whether it was the Wahhabi, the violent form of Middle Eastern religions, or the or Judo-Christian religions or Abrahamic religions. They had a very forceful way of conversion, a forceful way of conversion, and that was for your health. That was for your well-being. You were converted, or you had to convert in order to find your place in heaven. So it was promising for your health after life, so to speak. So it was for your well-being, for your health, the whole communities were destroyed. And it was within this destruction that was taking place around the 1500s from Iran, Afghanistan into India, that Guru Nanak spoke his truth, in which he questioned the tyranny. He questioned the tyranny of uh, this forced worldview, the tyranny of enslaving another, the tyranny of exploiting those that weren't like you. So uh, um, in that response were the seeds that were planted for sovereignty within the whole worldview that we find now from the tradition that Punjab or the Sikhs come from. That there is this sovereignty about challenging tyranny and oppression. And today, the same force, and in fact, uh, wickedly more sophisticated, is being used to tyrannize individuals to take an action that's irreversible. If I convert from one religion to another under the sword, I can always change back. But if I inject something that I can't take out of my body, I can't undo that. So it's a form of enforcement, it's a form of tyranny that is irreversible. It's been pushed into the children, into the generation that is yet to mature, and it's an agenda that is based on, at best, rather questionable science, at best, and at worst, orchestrated, planned, and a directed process in order to um, in order to create a controlling system, in order to reduce the human population to a degree. Uh, and you can see the natural events are leading to catastrophic impact, not just psychosis, mass psychosis, mental levels, but actually people's lives, suicides. And this seems unnecessary now, 20 months on, when we look back and we see the consequences of what's been going on. So we are now in a place, in my humble opinion, in which every individual needs to look at what's going on and decide for themselves if they feel that they need clarification, find more research, speak to people with different worldviews, try and understand what is going on, because the consequences could be dire if we are ignorant to this. So the protection to world to cultivated or conditioning a worldview is to be able to think for yourself, is able to meditate, is able to join a group of people who are able to discern, question without aggression, but dialogue, be able to discuss, be open. And this is needed in order for us as humanity to get up onto the table and have a mature uh, discussion of actually what is going on, because it is no longer a question of groups here, groups there, doing this, but a mature discussion needs to be had. What is going on, right? What is going on? And we need to look at this without the cancel culture and all that weaponized language and response that's used to shut people up and unable to speak their truth. And this has dire consequences, not just in terms of where we are going, but it has dire consequences on your health. That suppression, that inability to be able to express yourself will inevitably lead to Psychophysiological changes, which means your blood pressure, heart rate, endocrine system, nervous system, all of those, which then lead to illness and disease, right? So it's important. And sovereignty is not something that someone gives you. Sovereignty is not that the queen's going to give it to you or your president's going to give to you. Sovereignty is something that you are. You are, and you have always been, like every individual. Every single individual form of life has an equal right, an absolute equal right to be what they are, but not an equal right to impose that bullshit upon someone else. Definitely no one has that. And we have to be able to think for ourselves. So avoid the propaganda, avoid the same information coming in different ways. Just avoid that. Meditate, become aware of yourself, and you will be guided, because part of our emergence of all of this humanity space that we're going through is a spiritual emergence. We are now starting to come to terms with what it means to have a connection with the sacred, because with that comes a level of trust, and trust can only be known. Trust cannot be cultivated, it can only be known, and it's only through meditation that we get to that space. So meditation is a panacea, not just to the brainwashing, but it's also that which will allow that emergence to take place in a way that is safe and supportive for ourselves. Okay, I think I've spoken enough for today. November, as we enter the dark nights, it's important to be cautious, careful, prepared. And we've all been sharing information with you. Please make use of it if you find it necessary. And ensure that you don't get engaged in the anger, you don't get engaged in the violence, but you can certainly get engaged in questioning the narrative, speaking your truth, and standing your ground. Okay, so if we go for a meditation, so get yourself into a nice, comfortable place, closing your eyes, closing your mouth, and just stretch your back, pull your shoulders back. And as you breathe in, becoming aware of yourself as best as you can. And you set your intention. So your intention is simply to step back, to step back and see if you can center yourself within yourself. And if you really look at yourself with curiosity, wonder what you'll discover. So as you take your next breath in, once again, bring your focus to your body as a whole. Next breath in, bring your focus now to your inner space. And by that I mean bringing your focus to your thoughts, your mental activity. And if you can't find any thoughts, you can mentally say a sacred word like Har, Satnam, Vaheguru, Om, Hallelujah, Ja, Allahu, whatever word you wish. And as you say to yourself, notice that you can hear it, that you know you're saying it. That's what I mean by your mental activity. Bring your focus now towards your chest. Notice the movement of your chest. And center your awareness a bit deeper into your chest, almost like you're in the center of your body itself. And from that place, that perspective, see how you're feeling right now. Notice your emotional space. Comfortable, uncomfortable, dukh or sukh, suffering or absence of suffering. To the seat you're on, allowing your body to be supported. Notice that you are held, and this allows the body to soften a bit, knowing you're not going to go anywhere. Locating yourself. Look with whatever you're sitting on. And notice even that is held by the earth beneath it. Locate yourself. Notice how you feel. Does your environment feel cold? Does it feel warm, or is it comfortable? What, warm or cold? You can only experience what you experience because you're located in that environment. Recognize your environment, the temperature, the space. And if you bring your focus to, you will notice that you can only draw the breath from the air that's in front of you. And you can only breathe out in the space that's in front of you. Breath moves from one moment to the next. And just as this breath connects you to the next one, this moment connects you to all the moments that ever will be. And just as your breath connects you to the one that you had, your previous breath, this moment connects you with all the moments that ever will be or ever have been. So embed yourself in the moment of now. Bringing your focus now to where your body makes contact with what you're sitting on. Notice the sensations within your body. Bring your awareness towards your scanning your hips for any sensations, and then moving your focus down your thighs towards your knees, down towards your ankles. Notice your feet. Notice the soles of your feet. Returning back to the seat. Notice that your back is straight and upright. Nose gently up, lower back to middle back. Again, noticing any sensations that are present. And then up on your next breath towards your shoulder blades. Notice the shoulders. Moving down towards your elbows. Moving down towards your hands. Notice the palms of your hands. Notice the fingers on your hands. Bringing your eyes. Notice. And then as you breathe out, the body to soften and relax. Moving your focus towards your mouth. Notice your tongue. Allow it to soften. And relaxing your face as you breathe out. Coming back to your breath. On your next breath out, gently becoming aware of the sounds around you. Following the sound of the bell. When you're ready, gently bring your focus beneath your nose. Begin to watch your breath. Stay with your breath. Allow the breath to breathe by itself. And if you find that your focus drifts often, simply counting yourself down from 10 Moving down to the next number as you breathe out next, all the way down to 1, will allow the focus to become anchored. Synchronizing the breath as you mentally recite one number at a time, moving down from 10 all the way down to 1. And as you get to 1 or 0, stay with your breath. Notice how you're breathing. Stay with your breath. Stay with your breath. Notice how the breath feels. And now, as best as you can, bring your focus to the sound of your breath. And as best as you can, try and listen to the in breath as it comes in. Try and listen to the out breath as it goes out. Stay with your breath, listening to the in breath, listening to the out breath. On your next breath out, opening your awareness to the sounds around, including the sound of your breath, listening, listening. Allow yourself to let go and just follow the bell deep into your center. Notice the quality of your experience. Your singular non-awareness. Notice the peace, notice the silence. Notice your presence. And it's in this silence and timelessness that true trust is discovered. Listening to the silence. Gently bringing your focus just beneath your nose and just sitting with your breath. On your next breath, expanding your awareness to become aware of your body. Notice the stillness and the silence of your body. Bringing your focus to where you're sitting. Notice you're still in the same place. Sensations in your body where you make contact with where you're sitting or lying. You can sense your hips. You can sense your thighs, down to your feet, moving towards your soles of your feet, and even the toes. Your back is straight and upright. Shoulders are relaxed. Eyes are closed, mouth is closed, and your face is relaxed. Bring your focus back to your breath. And now, as the breath comes in, you can sense your body. As the breath goes out, you can sense your body. In a moment, we're going to come to an end of this session. When you hear the next bell, use this bell to draw some slow, deep breaths in, and in your own good time, gently opening your eyes. Or not.